Namaskar and welcome to Midday Prime. The Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that he would strive to take his country's relationship with India to a very high level, and he highlighted the issues of security and overall welfare of the people as priorities. The Sri Lankan President chose India for his first state visit after taking office, and we'll be bringing you details of the visit, his meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, which concluded at the Hyderabad House a short while ago, and other news as well. Let's begin with the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa hold wide-ranging discussions. Prime Minister Modi says Sri Lanka and India share a strong bond, says that India will give priority to relations with Sri Lanka under the Neighbourhood First policy. India to extend $400 million line of credit, which will boost infrastructure in Sri Lanka. Supreme Court to consider SIT report in 1984 anti-Sikh riots cases, and also another case. The Supreme Court has issued a notice to the former Kolkata Police Commissioner Rajiv Kumar in the Sharda Chit Fund case. Preparations being put in place for the first phase of assembly elections to be held in Jharkhand tomorrow. Polling will be held in 13 constituencies in Chhatra, Palamu, Gumla, also Gharwa, Latehar and Lohardaga districts in this phase. Heavy rains in many parts of Tamil Nadu. Schools have been closed in Trichy due to the rains. Snowfall also in Himachal, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir, Leh, other hilly areas in the Himalayas. And well, Delhi's air quality index is down to a satisfactory 79. In sports, India will be taking on Pakistan in a Davis Cup match today. The match is to take place in Nur Sultan, which is the capital of Kazakhstan. And IFFI has been awarded with the ICFT UNESCO Fellini Medal at the International Film Festival of India in Goa. And the filmmaker Blaise Harrison's film Particles has won the Golden Peacock. So our top story is, well, obviously Prime Minister Narendra Modi held wide-ranging talks with the Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in New Delhi, and both leaders discussed further areas of cooperation and the ways to strengthen the existing bilateral relations between the two countries. The newly elected President of Sri Lanka arrived in the national capital last evening on a state visit to India. At Prime Minister Narendra Modi's invitation, the Prime Minister congratulated Gotabaya Rajapaksa for his victory in the election. He also said that it was an honor for India that Rajapaksa had chosen India as his first port of call on first overseas visit, that is, since assuming office. And the Prime Minister also said that India has given importance to ties with Sri Lanka under the Neighbourhood First policy. Let's listen to what the PM said.
भारत श्रीलंका का सबसे करीबी समुद्री पड़ोसी और एक भरोसेमंद मित्र है। दोनों देशों के नजदीकी संबंधों का मजबूत आधार हमारे ऐतिहासिक, एथनिक, भाषाई, सांस्कृतिक और सभ्यतागत संपर्क है। मेरी सरकार की नेबरहुड फर्स्ट नीति और सागर डॉक्ट्रिन के अनुरूप हम श्रीलंका के साथ अपने संबंधों को प्राथमिकता देते हैं। हमारे दोनों देशों की सुरक्षा और विकास अविभाज्य हैं, और इसलिए यह स्वाभाविक है कि हम एक दूसरे की सुरक्षा और संवेदनशीलताओं के प्रति सचेत रहें।
And the Prime Minister also said that a strong Sri Lanka is not only in the interests of India but also for the entire Indian Ocean region.
आपको प्राप्त जनादेश एक संगठित, मजबूत और समृद्ध श्रीलंका के लिए श्रीलंका के लोगों की आकांक्षाओं को अभिव्यक्त करता है। इस संबंध में भारत की शुभेच्छा और सहयोग हमेशा श्रीलंका के साथ है। एक स्थिर, सुरक्षित और समृद्ध श्रीलंका न केवल भारत के हित में है, बल्कि संपूर्ण इंडियन ओशन रीजन के भी हित में है।
And India will also extend a $50 million line of credit for combating terrorism. Besides that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said India will extend a $400 million line of credit. This is for infrastructure development in our neighboring country, Sri Lanka.
$400 मिलियन की एक नई लाइन ऑफ क्रेडिट से श्रीलंका में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और विकास को बल मिलेगा। मुझे विश्वास है कि इससे श्रीलंका की अर्थव्यवस्था को लाभ पहुंचेगा। साथ ही यह लाइन ऑफ क्रेडिट दोनों देशों के बीच पारस्परिक लाभ के प्रोजेक्ट कोऑपरेशन को भी गति देगी।
Well, the Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa thanked India for extending a $50 million line of credit for combating terrorism.
Among these cooperation in regard to security of our two countries priority, India has always assisted Sri Lanka to enhance our capabilities in intelligence and counter-terrorism, and we look forward to continue support in this regard. I want to thank for his offering $50 million US dollars credit line to enhance the capabilities of the intelligence agencies.
Well, this morning, the visiting dignitary Gotabaya Rajapaksa received a ceremonial reception at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He was received by President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Sri Lankan president said that he wants to take India-Sri Lanka ties to higher levels, both for the benefit of the people of both countries.
During my tenure as the President, I want to bring the relationship between India and Sri Lanka into a very high level, and we have of course a long-standing friendship historically, culturally and politically, and time we need to work together for the benefit of Sri Lanka and people of Sri Lanka, and on security as well as the economic development.
And earlier, Rajapaksa had held talks with the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in the national capital, the External Affairs Minister calling on the visiting dignitary. And the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval also called on the Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa soon after his arrival in India. He discussed issues of national interest and bilateral cooperation during his meeting with the Sri Lankan President. And we are joined by our correspondent Abhishek Jha, who was at that press conference just a short while ago where Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the visiting President of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, addressed the media. So tell us a little bit, Abhishek, now this is a very important visit because it is, after all, the first visit by the Sri Lankan President, and it also comes at a time when, there's of course a new government there, but also a government that one hopes will be looking forward to very close ties with India.
Sure, Mark, this is one of the most sought after visit in the recent times, especially in the aftermath of political reshuffling that has happened in Sri Lanka, when the Rajapaksa family has gained back the power in the Sri Lankan government. We know that the Mahinda Rajapaksa was for a very long time he ruled Sri Lanka as a president, and now his brother Gotabaya Rajapaksa is again he's been chosen the president. Mahinda Rajapaksa has become prime minister. So this whole chemistry of Sri Lanka-India relationship has to be redefined now, because we know that Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa is considered a hardliner when it comes to tackling internal security issues, issues of terrorism, where India also has the same view with the current dispensation. We know that Prime Minister Modi is a very, he has tried to, unified the world when it comes to taking action against terrorism and global war against terrorism. So in that sphere, of course, India and Sri Lanka can join hands and they can work together and talk together. The issues are that India has also assured Sri Lanka that it will help in building its infrastructural issues. There has been $400 million of line of credit which will be spent on developing infrastructural projects in Sri Lanka. We know that India has also helped in building so many units of houses where people have been displaced because of some internal strife, and those are the issues that are really at the core of India-Sri Lanka issues in the background, where there are issues of reconciliation. Prime Minister said during this joint press conference that the issue of reconciliation was also discussed, and President Rajapaksa told him about his views and his government's view on that issue. So these issues are regularly being discussed. Earlier also we know that during his congratulatory messages, also Prime Minister had said that India hopes that Sri Lanka will take forward the issue of reconciliation. So these are, and also he talked about the issues of fishermen. There are so many stories of fishermen who inadvertently crosses into each other's territory, from Sri Lanka to India's water and Indian waters to Sri Lanka, and most of the time this happens inadvertently and they are caught in this legal issues. So those issues needs to be tackled on an expeditious manner.
Right, stay with us, Abhishek. We are joined in the studio also by our guest, Ambassador B.S. Prakash is with us. Ambassador B.S. Prakash, a well-known expert on international affairs, and has also served in Sri Lanka. Ambassador Prakash, let's look at this relationship coming after, let's say, there was a fear that China had taken a lot of control of Sri Lanka, and to a large extent with the control of the Hambantota port. All these other things that are concerning, with regard to the Indian Ocean region. And Rajapaksa says that, his relationship with China is largely commercial, and it doesn't come at the cost of any other relationship. And he also mentioned today that, India is the closest neighbor and a long-standing friend. How do you analyze that?
I feel that there are several substantive and interesting issues in this visit, as well as challenges for both countries. And in a very broad sense, from what little we have seen so far, we will see more in the coming day or two. I think both are taking a very realistic, pragmatic, and a kind of a intention to restart or recalibrate the relationship a little bit. You mentioned some issues. I would broadly see it in four issues.
Okay.
One is strategic and security related,
and
that relates to Sri Lanka's own security issues, including the recent terrorist attack that they have, and a resolve in both countries to make ourselves stronger and to safeguard ourselves from terrorist attack. At another level in that basket are also strategic issues, which is Sri Lanka's important position in the Indian Ocean, the presence of China and India and a certain competition, shall we say, or rivalry for influence in Sri Lanka. Here I think, well, China's presence in South Asia is something that we are coming to terms with. We have our own interests, our own stakes. Sri Lanka is certainly closer to India in every sense than China, but China too plays a part, and therefore to recalibrate that relationship, that is one set of issues.
Right.
The second is the ethnic problem in Sri Lanka, and here again there has to be a balance between the security needs and the stability. The Prime Minister referred to it, the stability of Sri Lanka and its integrity, and at the same time the legitimate Tamil grievances which are still there and which need to be taken into account.
Yes.
And I think President Rajapaksa is saying that they will make progress on that, and Prime Minister referred to that. The third is also the economic set of issues, because I think it's a substantial relationship. I think the trade, I mean, India is certainly the largest trading partner with Sri Lanka. Our exports are over 5 billion, and we have a free trade agreement, and we have very considerable investments from India in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka in that way, if our idea is that there should be an integration, a greater integration in terms of the economy in this region, both Sri Lanka and Bangladesh are our success stories. So, there is the third aspect, and the fourth I would say is goodwill, because all through the ups and downs that we have sometimes had, we have had the misunderstanding or misperception or plain differences, there is a lot of goodwill in both countries. I think across the ethnic spectrum, Sinhalas, Tamils, Buddhists, Muslims, Tamils, I think there is goodwill towards India, going back to the memories of the Buddhist legacy to contemporary times, also among the Tamil section. So, I think how to address all these in an integrated manner, and recognizing that sometimes there will be differences, different interests, to find that balancing act, as I see it, is the challenge that President Rajapaksa faces, and to some extent India also faces. One last word, if I may. I think it's significant that the Foreign Minister Jaishankar went so soon after Rajapaksa's election, and I think it's very good that Rajapaksa's first visit is here. We all recall that the Foreign Minister also spoke recently in a major lecture about how Indian foreign policy is going to be agile, alert, seize opportunities, take risks. Some of all of that I see in the way this visit is being designed and developed.
And if we look now at the nature of Sri Lanka being an island and obviously very close to India economy, it really it becomes pretty obvious that economic relations between India have to be good, because I mean it's far away from other parts in a sense. So to that extent, do you think that we are fulfilling economic potential between the two countries, or is there a lot more that can be done? Of course, India's line of credit now for infrastructure development of $400 million, but also you did mention in your first aspect where you talked about the strategic aspects and really security after the Easter Sunday terror attack, which has now come to light once again in Sri Lanka. How serious is that concern for Sri Lanka, and how well can India help in that matter?
That's right. On the first point with regard to the economic potential of Sri Lanka, from my own experience of Sri Lanka, I must tell you that Sri Lanka has a very rich potential, because it's a literate, I mean the literacy rates, the human development indicators in Sri Lanka are pretty high. So, it had been a success story. It was at one stage of history modeling itself on Singapore, but I think then it had various setbacks, mainly terrorism, and it suffered. Again, tourism had come back in a big way. Again, it suffered because of these Easter bombings. So, Sri Lanka has plenty of potential, and I think Indian investments have certainly helped, because some of its commodities like rubber, for instance, or spices or tea, I think there is integration between the Indian economy, which is huge in scale, and Sri Lankan entrepreneurs and economists who have done well. So, I think there is certainly potential for growth in Sri Lanka, including in a big way with tourism, including Indian tourism. And also they are well connected with the ASEAN countries. They have
Yes.
other connections too, which I am sure they will exploit
sea routes,
if
yes.
there is stability. And that brings me to the second issue, the stability and security. Here I think there have been unfortunate, particularly in the recent past, but it's very important that now we are giving, for instance, $50 million of credit, especially in regard to counter-terrorism. What does that mean? Better training, better intelligence, better operational procedures. I think it's common knowledge now that we did alert Sri Lanka, our intelligence agencies did alert Sri Lanka with regard to what we apprehended, but it was
Yes.
a political misunderstanding
Right.
and a dysfunctional system
Okay.
that led to this. I think the Rajapaksa family, not only the president, but his brother,
That's
who
right.
is a very experienced politician, they were aware of the assistance that India had given, and that they will continue to need the dialogue with India on these issues. So,
Yes.
as both of them said, it is a common security, it is a common stability and security in the Indian Ocean and in these two countries that we
Yes.
are seeking. I think that's the right spirit to view this issue.
Okay, and Abhishek, you're with us still. Abhishek, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, okay, Abhishek. Now, you did mention about the fishermen issue. Now, that is a matter of some concern because, you know, the waters between Sri Lanka and India are not too far apart. So, there would be issues concerning fishermen all the time. Really, and that could cause some sort of concern. It has been over the years, especially. To what extent, you know, can some long-term solution be made for this particular problem?
See, Mark, there is already a well set out mechanism for repatriation of those fishermen who inadvertently crosses to each other's water territory. But then these two leaders today, they have also expressed that the issues of fishermen and their livelihoods should be taken with a more humane angle, and that tells a story that these two leaders deep down they consider that the issues of fishermen are mostly because of some human error, and they are not intentionally or some terrorist
Obviously.
activities. So one has to take into considerations the vast maritime, the vast sea area where there is no fixed landmark, and many times it happens because of the poor navigation signals that fishermen's boats cross into each other's territory, and that should be taken as more like a human error and less like a misadventure. So, and this is what these two leaders have expressed, and I believe that the recent times when the reports were suggesting that Sri Lankan navies are taking hard on Indian fishermen into that area, these issues will calm down, and more sort of regularized mechanism will be set up between these India and Sri Lanka to deal with the issue of fishermen crossing into each other's territory.
Right, and also with regard to the rehabilitation and reconstruction work that has been taking place ever since, you know, the end of the civil war with the LTTE. India has been invested heavily in that, and we built 14,000 plus houses already. We built an auditorium. We're sort of reconstructing quite a large part of that area. You know, is that work still in progress, or is that to a large extent finished?
Mark, there are still phases of project that are still in progress. We've seen that recently Prime Minister had allocated few hundreds of units of these housings to the communities who had lost their houses, and they are being tried to be rehabilitated. So that is one issue, and India is also trying to almost reconstruct or ensure the infrastructural development in those areas where there has been less development. There are ethnic issues, of course, that Ambassador also talked about, and these are the issues where India and Sri Lanka both are trying to take a very balanced approach, because there are they have had a history of ethnic war, and nobody wants that sentiments to come back, and at the same time there should be humanitarian angle that should be kept in mind while dealing with such an issue. And the development is one of the area where both the countries are trying to focus, and maybe that development in the future will ensure that these ethnic issues will cease to exist gradually.
Right. Ambassador Prakash, I'd like your comments too on the two issues that I've raised with Abhishek, one with regard to the fishermen and the other with the reconstruction work that India has done for the Tamils in Sri Lanka.
On the fishermen's issue, I think your correspondent rightly explained that these are issues arising out of difficulty of navigation. I think one thing is that as technology changes and as there are technological solutions found to these issues, for instance, whatever through satellites or through also naval patrolling and so on. So, it is to be hoped that some greater clarity will become available. I think technology is also changing the very techniques of fishing.
Yes.
For instance, if you take out trawlers or if you take out other kinds of fishing vessels. So, this issue is being constantly addressed, and
Yes.
when there is better understanding between the two countries, then this kind of offensive action or aggressive action by the Sri Lankan Navy hopefully will come down. So, that is the hope.
Right.
And on the reconstruction rehabilitation front, I think if I heard the Prime Minister rightly, I think again allocations are being made for housing projects, this time also in the Tamil plantation areas. The plantation areas where the Tamils, Indian Tamils as they are called, they are in a large number. I think this is one of our better success stories I hear in terms of implementation of projects. When we look at our neighborhood,
Yes.
these with a, also they had a different kind of a mode, a
Right.
public-private partnership mode. I think people participated in it. So, I think our foreign ministry has been proud of what we have done.
Yes.
And this is an excellent area, which will
Okay.
create a lot of goodwill also in the Tamil areas and also in Sri Lanka in general. So, I
Yes.
think it's good that we are going forward with it.
Okay, thanks very much, Ambassador Prakash and Abhishek, for joining us and helping us understand or put that all into context, the very important visit of the Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to India. We're moving on to our next story now, and the Union Home Minister Amit Shah will participate in the closing ceremony. This is of the 47th All India Police Science Congress. It's taking place in Lucknow today. Well, the two-day event was inaugurated by the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Kiran Bedi, and Uttar Pradesh Police, in association with the Home Ministry and the Bureau of Police Research and Development, is organizing this event. It's taking place, as we said, at the police headquarters in Lucknow. And during the event, 6 thematic sessions, which include some very contemporary issues like reforms in policing, role of social media in countering radicalization and terrorism, as well as inculcating the right kind of attitudes in police officers. These are all part of the agenda. Let's move on to news from Parliament. Well, the Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar said that many programs and advertisements are being run to raise awareness among people towards several public welfare schemes which have been launched by the government. While replying to a question in the Lok Sabha, the minister said that now we are emphasizing more on thematic advertisements, in which advertisements of different ministries for a program are printed simultaneously.
अभी हम थीमेटिक एडवर्टीजमेंट्स दे रहे हैं। थीमेटिक यानी एक समझो योगा डे है, तो योगा डे के एडवर्टीजमेंट में हेल्थ के, प्रिवेंटिव हेल्थ के जितने भी कार्यक्रम है 4-5 मंत्रालयों के, आयुष मंत्रालय से लेकर बाकी भी मंत्रालयों के जो हेल्थ के भी कार्यक्रम होंगे, उस सबको भी एडवर्टाइज करते हैं। यानी एक आधा पेज इश्तेहार का ज्यादा से ज्यादा उपयोग हो और ढंग से लोगों तक जानकारी पहुंचे। ये एक नया प्रयास है, लेकिन ये सुझाव अच्छा है कि इसका भी कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस लोगों तक कितना पहुंचता है और कितना परिणाम करता है।
And the BJP MP Pragya Thakur Singh has tendered an apology in the Lok Sabha for her reported remarks on Mahatma Gandhi's assassin Nathuram Godse. Speaking in the Lok Sabha, she said that her statements made in Parliament were distorted and that she respects Mahatma Gandhi's contribution to the country.
मैं सदन में मेरे द्वारा की गई किसी भी टिप्पणी से यदि किसी भी प्रकार से किसी को कोई ठेस पहुंची हो तो उसके लिए मैं खेद प्रकट कर क्षमा चाहती हूं। परंतु मैं यह भी कहना चाहती हूं कि संसद में दिए मेरे बयानों को तोड़ मरोड़ कर गलत ढंग से पेश किया गया है। मेरे बयान का संदर्भ कुछ और था।
And Vishal Barristow now joins us from Parliament with an update. Well, Vishal, first of all, what's the main items on the agenda today?
Well, a very good afternoon to you. let me tell you that before I answer your question, the matter seems to have been resolved by the meeting which the speaker had called of all the political party leaders on the issue of Pragya Thakur, and the house is now assembled and is now functioning properly. There were some interesting issues. There were some interesting issues regarding the national animal, that is the tiger. And next, on the 30th of this month, the Environment Minister has called the meeting of Union Environment Minister has called a meeting of all the ministers of the state who hold the portfolio of environment on this issue, and this issue would be taken up very seriously as to what is affecting the population of the tigers. This was one important issue. And then before that, in the Rajya Sabha, the Vice President took note of the child pornography, and he said that it is very unfortunate that these things are still prevalent, and the government, on behalf of the government, the Union Minister of Women and Child Development assured that all necessary steps are being taken by the government to stop this menace. So now its lunch is over and both houses are functioning normally. So the storm has calmed down, and we hope that the proceedings are not disturbed furthermore in the lower house especially.
Right, and also, Vishal, as far as the government's legislative agenda is concerned, important bills still to be passed in this session. Fill us in with some of the important details that, the government expects, the Treasury expects to pass in this particular session.
Well, Mark, because of the pandemonium, especially in the lower house, important things were not being allowed to be debated upon. But let me tell you that as far as the e-cigarette issue is concerned now, that is an act now. Though the Congress was averse to the idea of bringing a bill and bringing an act in this regard as far as the prohibition of e-cigarettes are concerned, but the Health Minister had made it very clear that it's a preemptive strike, especially on the new form of nicotine addiction. Yes. So this was one, and then the regularization and also giving papers to the illegal colonies in the National Capital Territory is also another issue. So the government is very keen on that, and in fact the minister, Urban Affairs Minister, also went on record saying that it was only because under the leadership of the Prime Minister that the dreams of so many people, 600 colonies are there who are said to be illegal now. They would be regularized. So these are the issues that would be taken care of, especially in this winter session, and especially those living in the National Capital Territory are very much keen on it.
Thanks very much, Vishal Barrister, for those inputs. Now let's get you some inputs now from the assembly polls that are beginning tomorrow in Jharkhand. And the Election Commission has made elaborate arrangements for the first phase of polls, which are tomorrow, and 13 constituencies spread across 6 districts will be going to the polls tomorrow. The assembly polls in this state will be held in 5 phases. These are between the 30th of November and the 20th of December, and counting of votes will be taken up on the 23rd of December.
The Election Commission has made arrangement for first phase of assembly polls on Saturday. In first phase polls, 13 constituencies spread over 6 districts: Bishnupur, Lohardaga, Manika, Latehar, Panki, Daltonganj, Bishrampur, Chhatarpur, Husainabad, Garhwa, Bhavnathpur will go to polls in first phase on Saturday. The voting will begin at 7 in the morning. Polling personnel and polling agents will reach the polling station 1.5 hours before the polling begins. A mock poll will also be conducted. The polling will conclude at 3 p.m. The poll body has also made special arrangements for Divyang voters.
लोकोमोटर डिसेबल्ड के लिए हम लोग वहाँ व्हील चेयर्स उपलब्ध कराएंगे। उनके पर्टिकुलर गंतव्य से मतदान केंद्रों तक लाने के लिए उनके फेरिंग के लिए अलग से हम लोगों ने गाड़ियाँ मार्क की हैं। उन गाड़ियों के अलग से साइनेज भी लगाया जाएगा ताकि सुगम मतदान हो सके, तथा साथ ही साथ जो हमारे विजुअली चैलेंज पर्सनस हैं उनके लिए हम लोग डमी बैलेट शीट भी दे रहे हैं ब्रेल लिपि में। उनको ब्रेल लिपि में फ़ोटो वोटर स्लिप दी जाएगी, उनको ब्रेल का एपिक कार्ड भी दिया जाएगा। और जो हमारे स्पीच एंड हियरिंग इम्पेयर्ड हैं उनके लिए हम लोगों ने साइन लैंग्वेज जानने के लिए स्काउट्स एंड गाइड्स के भी लोगों को आइडेंटिफाई किया, उनकी ट्रेनिंग कराई गई है, और ऐसे 450 से ज़्यादा बूथों पर वो लोग डिप्लॉय भी किए जाएंगे।
All electorals who have been issued electoral's photo identity card have to produce their card at the polling station before casting their votes. In case they fail to do so, alternative photo identity documents can be used. The list of 11 documents is passport, driving license, Aadhaar card, PAN card, health insurance smart card, pension document with photograph, Manrega job card, smart card issued by RGI under NPR, passbooks with photograph issued by bank or post office, official identity cards issued to MPs or MLAs, service identity cards with photograph issued to employees by central, state government, PSUs or public limited companies. The 81-member Jharkhand Assembly will go to polls in 5 phases between 30th November and 20th December. Counting of votes will be taken on 23rd of December. Bureau Report, DD News.
And Anuj Yadav now joins us from Ranchi. Well, Anuj, let's first try and understand, what the important contests are in this particular phase. Who are the main contenders? Who are the main candidates?
देखिए बिल्कुल मार्कलिन, ये जो पहला फेज है इसमें सिर्फ जो 13 सीट्स हैं उन्हीं पे यहाँ पर मतदान होगा। ये जो इलाके रहे हैं ये नक्सलाइट इफेक्टेड एरियाज रहे हैं, लेकिन टाइट सिक्योरिटी अरेंजमेंट्स किए हैं। जहाँ तक आपने मुकाबले की बात की, निश्चित तौर पर इस बार भारतीय जनता पार्टी अकेले चुनावी मैदान में है। जो अभी सरकार में जो उनके साथ शामिल पार्टी थी आजसू, वो अकेले चुनाव लड़ रही है। इसके अलावा झारखंड मुक्ति मोर्चा, कांग्रेस और राष्ट्रीय जनता दल, इन्होंने तीनों पार्टियों ने गठबंधन बनाकर इस बार झारखंड में चुनाव लड़ने का फैसला किया है। जिस तरीके से नक्सलाइट अफेक्टेड एरियाज हैं, इस लिहाज से जो इलेक्शन कमीशन के सामने है, यहाँ पर निष्पक्ष और शांतिपूर्ण चुनाव कराना एक बड़ी चुनौती निर्वाचन आयोग के सामने है। लेकिन जिस तरीके से यहाँ पर टाइट अरेंजमेंट्स किए गए हैं यहाँ पर सिक्योरिटी को लेकर, उसे देखकर लगता है कि यहाँ पर शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से चुनाव हो पाएगा। एक अच्छा प्रयास इलेक्शन कमीशन की तरफ से मार्कलिन और रहा है, क्योंकि पिछले चुनाव की अगर मैं बात करूं, जो असेंबली का इलेक्शन यहाँ पर हुआ था उसमें 60% पोलिंग परसेंटेज रहा था। उसको ज़्यादा करने के लिए इस बार यहाँ पर विशेष रूप से ऐसे अलग अलग कार्यक्रम स्वीप कार्यक्रम के तहत चलाए गए थे, ताकि लोगों की ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा भागीदारी इस चुनाव में देखने को मिले। क्योंकि इन इलाकों के अंदर ये आदिवासी इलाके हैं, यहाँ पर अभी विकास के लिए बहुत कुछ करना बाकी है। जो यहाँ नक्सलिज्म था उसको तो खत्म करने की एक कोशिश पिछले वर्षों में की गई है और काफी हद तक वो खत्म भी हुआ है, लेकिन डेवलपमेंट के अभी भी ऐसे काम हैं। जो भी नई सरकार बनेगी उसको एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती रहेगी इस आदिवासी इलाके के लिए। तो निश्चित तौर पर सभी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज ने, चाहे जेएमएम हो, आरजेडी हो, कांग्रेस हो या भारतीय जनता पार्टी हो, इस इलाके को विशेष रूप से विकसित करने का एक वायदा सभी लोगों ने अपनी मैनिफेस्टो में किया है।
Right, thanks very much Anuj Yadav for helping us understand the elections that are going to take place tomorrow in the first phase in Jharkhand. Moving on to our next story then, the screening of the renowned Iranian director Mohsen Malbar's Italy-set refugee drama about Marghe and her mother. It closed the Golden Jubilee edition of the International Film Festival of India. This happened on Thursday, and close to 250 films were screened at this film festival. It was a movie extravaganza in a sense. It opened on the 20th of November, if we recall, and the closing ceremony took place yesterday. And Blaise Harrison, directed the French film Particles. It's won the Golden Peacock Award.
Curtains came down on the 50th International Film Festival of India in Panji. The Golden Jubilee edition of Asia's biggest film festival began on the 20th of this month. The theme of the closing ceremony was Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat. Legendary music composer Eli Raja, renowned Assamese filmmaker Manju Bohra, veteran actor Prem Chopra and actor Arvind Swamy were felicitated on the occasion. Addressing the gathering, Governor Satyapal Malik appealed to the film fraternity to address social issues through their craft.
अब जो हमारे समाज की जो विसंगति है जिसमें गुर्बत है, नौजवानों का स्ट्रगल है, अपनी फिल्मों में इनके ऊपर हमला करिए, नौजवानों की मदद करिए, किसानों की मदद करिए, उससे समाज पे असर होगा और समाज जरूर बदलेगा।
The respect and ex-defense minister of India's late Sri Manohar Parrikar, and who was served as the Goa chief minister, was instrumental in making the IFFI synonymous with Goa. One of its main dreams for Goa was to make the state heaven for the film industry. We hope in coming years we are able to fulfill this dream.
I feel elated to announce that in the prestigious 50th edition of the IFFI, 190 films were screened from 76 different countries. Among those were 90 Indian premieres, 6 world premieres, and 11 Asian premieres.
Goa Chief Minister Pramod Sawant presented the Golden Peacock Award. The Golden Peacock Award for the best film goes to the movie Particles, directed by Blaise Harrison and produced by Estelle Fiallan. Pema Sedun received the Special Jury Award for a film Balloon. Indian director Lijo Jose Pellicer won the Best Director Award for his film Jallikattu. A special mention was given to the film Hilero, directed by Abhishek Shah. More than 30 masterclasses and in-conversation sessions were conducted this time at IFFI. Musician Ilayya Raja, renowned director John Bailey, actor Prasenjit Sen and director Madhur Bhandarkar were among those who held masterclasses. Face-off sessions with filmmakers like Anil Kapoor, Imtiaz Ali, Taapsee Pannu and Subhash Ghai were also well received by the audiences.
The 50th edition also had many firsts like Master Frames, Golden Peacock Retrospective, Restored Indian Classics, Soul of Asia, Konkani Films Package, and Retrospective of Indian New Wave Cinema.
Festival director Chaitanya Prasad gave the vote of thanks.
We come to the conclusion of the closing ceremony. It is the fulfillment of a dream that we began many months ago, a dream to live up to the expectations of people, to stand together as far as excellence of cinema is concerned. In 2019, especially the 50th edition, IFFI has been immersed, submerged in cinematic excellence.
The India premiere of Marghe and Her Mother, directed by Iranian master Mohsen Makhmalbaf, was the closing film of IFFI. The movie talks about Marghe, a 6-year-old who has to live with an old woman after a single mother defaults on rent. With Shishir Shelar and Jaya Sena in Panji, DD News.
And the International Film Festival of India was awarded with the ICFT UNESCO Fellini Medal at the closing ceremony, which was received by the Information and Broadcasting Secretary Amit Khare and the Director of the festival Chaitanya Prasad. Also, the Governor of Goa Satyapal Malik, the Chief Minister of Goa Dr. Pramod Sawant, the Union Minister Babul Supriyo and others were present on the occasion. The Director of the International Council for Film, Television and Audio-Visual Communication, that's what ICFT stands for, Jorge Dupont, presented this medal at the festival. And moving on to our next story, the Ayushman Bharat scheme is making available health facilities to every citizen of the country. It's clearly showing a widespread positive impact on the ground. And well, this scheme has become a lifeline, in fact, for people in Shirpur. This is in Madhya Pradesh. Let's look at this report.
He is Giriraj Bairwa, a resident of Nagdi village in Madhya Pradesh, Shiopur district. Unfortunately, his daughters Aishwarya and Divyanshi both suffer from thalassemia, and as a result, they need 2 to 3 bottles of blood a month, which would cost around 4,000 rupees, a big amount for a daily wager. The doctors informed him about Ayushman Bharat scheme, and he is now grateful to the Prime Minister.
मेरी आर्थिक स्थिति कमजोर है, मैं मजदूरी करने वाला आदमी हूँ और मेरी बच्ची को हर महीने में 3 दफे ब्लड चढ़ाना पड़ता है। पहले तो मेरे को बोल लेना पड़ता था या कुछ मदद लोगों के लिए चढ़ाना पड़ता था। अब सरकार की थोड़ी बहुत आयुष्मान कार्ड बनने पर हमारी थोड़ी बहुत मदद होने लगी है। अब पैसे नहीं लगते हैं, केवल रसीद के पैसे लगते हैं अब।
Ayushman Bharat scheme is a life savior for Giriraj's daughters. He is not only getting his daughters treated but also informing others about it. Bureau Report, DD News.
Well, it's midday prime and time now for news and updates from the world of business. And Nancy has all these updates. Over to you, Nancy.
Thanks, Mark. Yes, let's take a look at all the business news this afternoon. And first up, Vodafone Idea and Bharati Airtel have said that they would increase the tariffs in December. That's the first price hike in more than 3 years. That could help shore up revenue and operating income for the two loss-making telecom companies, but also cause some subscribers to shift to rival Reliance Jio Infocom. While in separate statements, Vodafone Idea and Airtel cited the financial stress in the sector, the current low tariff and the need to invest in networks to keep up with the surging data demand as the reasons for the move. The companies have for some time been saying that higher prices and lower government levies were crucial to improving the health of the sector, bogged down by huge debt and intense competition amongst themselves. The proposed e-invoicing system under GST would help small businesses secure instant loans without furnishing a plethora of documents, as banks can rate them on the basis of these invoices, the officials working on the system have said. And further, they also added that the compliance burden for the MSMEs will reduce, as the GST system would pre-populate the returns on the basis of information received from the e-invoices. Under the system, the GST taxpayers would report their invoices to Invoice Registration Portal or the IRP. This portal will generate a unique invoice reference number and digitally sign the e-invoice while generating a QR code. The IRP will also send the signed e-invoice to the recipient of the document on the email provided to the e-invoice. And terming huge crude oil import a big economic challenge for the country, the Union Minister Nitin Gadkari has urged automakers to focus on alternative fuel vehicles as well as also ensured government support in the venture. The minister stressed on the need for diversifying agriculture towards power and energy to meet the goal of biofuel generation. And with that, it's a wrap on the business news this afternoon. Mark, it's back to you for the rest of the news.
Thanks very much, Nancy. And now let's get you news that's happening across the world. Well, the US President Donald Trump made a surprise visit to Afghanistan at an airbase near Kabul to thank the American troops serving there in that war zone on the occasion of Thanksgiving. And, well, the US President had a bilateral meeting also with the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. Trump stayed on the ground for about 2.5 hours, and during which he said that the US and the Taliban have been engaged in talks. The visit for Thanksgiving comes after a prisoner swap with the Taliban aimed at resuming peace negotiations. Donald Trump also said that the US was substantially reducing troops in Afghanistan. Now, nearly 40 people have been killed in Iraq amid ongoing anti-government protests. At least 25 people died when security forces opened fire to clear bridges in the southern city of Nasiriyah. Another few protesters died in Baghdad and 10 more in the city of Najaf, where Iran's consulate was also burned. Iraqis have been taking to the streets to demand more jobs, an end to corruption and better public services. The incidents marked one of the bloodiest days since the uprising began at the start of October, with anti-corruption demonstrations that have since swelled into a revolt against authorities scorned by young demonstrators as stooges of Tehran. It's time now for news from the world of sports. And for a quick sports update, here's Tapas.
All right, thanks, Mark. And let's start with the Indians women's volleyball team, which has entered into the semi-final of the 13th South Asian Games. In the last Group A match, India defeated Bangladesh in a straight game by 25-8, 25-11 and 25-9 in Kathmandu a short while ago. Indian girls dominated their Bangladeshi opponent throughout the game. India will now take on runners-up of Group B in the first semi-final tomorrow. India's men's team will clash with host Nepal later in the evening to secure the top position in Group A. India had defeated Bangladesh in straight games in its opening encounter yesterday, while Nepal lost to Bangladesh in its first match on Wednesday. Though the formal opening ceremony of the games will take place on Sunday, but volleyball matches have already started. Over 2,700 athletes will compete for 1,119 medals, including 319 gold and 26 game categories. As many as 499 athletes from India are participating in the biggest sporting event of South Asia. The closing ceremony will be held on 10th of December. Now from the South Asian Games to Davis Cup, India is up against a depleted Pakistan squad in a Davis Cup qualifying tie in Nur Sultan, Kazakhstan. Ramkumar Ramanathan opened the tie against Mohammad Shoaib in an emphatic manner as he trounced the Pakistani opponent 6-0 in just 42 minutes. Shoaib saved 2 match points in the end, but Ramanathan was just too good for the Pakistani. The Indian put up a strong serving performance as Shoaib did not get a look at the single break point on the Indian serve. On the other hand, the Indian converted his break points opportunities almost every time. Sumit Nagal will now take on Abdul Rahman in the second match later in the day. Now, Deepika Kumari won the gold medal in the women's recurve event at the Asian Archery Championship in Bangkok. The beating compatriot Ankita Bhakat 6-0 in all-Indian final. 3 Olympic quotas for the Tokyo 2020 were on offer at this event, which went to India, Bhutan and Vietnam. This is India's second Olympic quota place in archery after the men's recurve team of Tarundeep Rai, Tanudas and Praveen Jadhav had secured their place through their showing in the World Championship earlier in this year. Well, that's all from Sports Prime. Back to you, Marklin, for more news and updates.
Thanks very much, Tapas. And now it's time for our next segment, which is Life Prime. Well, Thanksgiving Day in New York City started with something many New Yorkers and visitors were grateful for: the giant balloons in the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. They were given the all clear to fly after fears of strong winds grounding them. And this parade, which is a tradition that began in the 1920s with its marching bands, clowns and performances, is expected to draw large crowds in New York City and millions of viewers across the country as well. Well, that's all we have for you in Midday Prime today, but we'll keep you updated about other major stories that are playing out. Amit Shah's visit to Lucknow to attend the closing ceremony of the 47th All India Police Science Congress among them. So do keep watching DD News.